morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this midweek edition of the press today on your Pan-African television. We'll be giving you papers from Africa and beyond the continent. Let's start with Sudan Tribune. The paper reports that Sudan and South Sudan on Monday decided to move their floating security talks from Khartoum to Addis Ababa after failing to strike a deal on the disarmament of the Sudanese rebels in South Kordofan and Blue Nile. The Joint Political Committee, chaired by Sudanese and South Sudanese defense ministers, held unsuccessful meetings in Juba and Khartoum over the implementation of the security arrangements protocol signed in Addis Ababa on September 27. The paper again says that deaths of Darfur students continue to spark protests and arrests in Sudan's capital of Khartoum. Almost 500 students marched out of Al Nilian University, chanting slogans and calling for change of regime, and denounced the killing of the students as killing of the nation. Still in the paper, South Sudan's Minister of Interior, Alison Manama Magaya, has admitted that elements in the security agency are involved in crimes in the capital, Juba. Magaya made the remark on Tuesday, a day after a leading political commentator was murdered. Let's look at Daily Observer from Gambia. The paper says that the 6th Cabinet retreat commenced Monday in Kanilai, bring together the top echelon of the government machinery to look at the achievements registered in various sectors and to chart out ways of addressing the existing gaps in meeting the set goals and targets. The retreat, which held every 6 months, has become a vital part of the government's development strategies that intend to provide interaction at policy level for technicians and the cabinet over key national development issues. Also read on this interesting story that says, 2 in court over Gambian murder in Scotland. Now let's look at the Chronicle newspaper from Ghana. The paper has as its top headline, EU, a force for peace in Europe and beyond. 2012 Nobel Peace Prize winner is also a committed partner in advancing peace in Africa. According to the paper, with news coverage focusing on the Euro crisis, the European Union may not have seemed to many people the obvious choice for this year's Nobel Peace Prize. However, the Nobel Committee announced the EU will receive the award for having contributed to the advancement of peace and reconciliation, democracy and human rights in Europe. Still in the journal, it's written that as President John Dramani Mahama was conducting his victory rally to officially put the presidential and parliamentary elections to a rest, the temperature of the calm of the opposition New Patriotic Party (NPP) was hitting to boiling point. The NPP issued what it termed a summary from the red sheet of collated figures from the presidential elections in 10 constituencies, indicating that President-elect John Dramani Mahama was fraudulently credited with the votes. Looking at the Post newspaper from Zambia, this midweek edition of the Post newspaper states that police on the Copper Belt on Monday apprehended MMD President Nevers Momba in Lufanyama, where he was about to address a meeting without the police permit. Copperbelt Police Commissioner Mary Tembo confirmed the development, saying Momba will be charged with the offense of unlawful assembly. Just below the kicker, there is this other interesting story that says National Airports Corporation on Monday caused panic among emergency rescue wings when they announced that a Lusaka-bound plane carrying 93 passengers had crashed near the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport following engine failure as it attempted to land. You will know more if you get a copy of the paper. Let's look at Business Day South Africa. Today's edition of the paper reports that the Industrial Development Corporation (IDC) is leading a consortium of South African and Chinese companies in a 5.3 billion rand bid for a 74.5% stake in Polabora Mining, adding another link to the government's plan to develop a steel value chain. In another development, the paper states that Mali's PM was forced to resign on Tuesday by the soldiers who staged a March 22 coup, complicating international efforts to help push Islamists from the north of the country. Sheikh Modibo Diarra resigned as PM after being arrested while trying to leave the country for former colonial France and was brought to the ex-junta's headquarters at the barracks in Kati. Let's look still in South Africa. We'll be looking at Cape Saints. According to the paper, Duleli's court victory is a major one for all prisoners, but he's just glad he is vindicated after a 13-year struggle. Lee spent 4 years in Portsmouth prison, where he contracted tuberculosis before eventually being acquitted. The 67-year-old dragged the Minister of Correctional Service to court in damages claim, arguing that the conditions in the prison led to his falling ill. Still in the paper, it's written that HSBC avoided a legal battle that could further savage its reputation and undermine confidence in the global banking system by accepting on Tuesday to pay $1.9 billion to settle a U.S. money laundering probe. Taking you to Asia, we'll be looking at the Wall Street Journal Asia. Today's paper says Chinese state planners 8 years ago were given an ambitious task to come up with a plan to narrow the vast gap between Chinese rich and poor. The project was at the heart of a promise made as President Hu Jintao and Premier Wen Jiabao came to power to build a harmonious society. The paper again has this interesting story that states that the HSBC Holdings plc acknowledged on Tuesday that for years it ignored possible money laundering, part of a record of $1.9 billion settlement with U.S. authorities that caps the bank's disastrous foray into the U.S. markets. Now taking you to the United Arab Emirates, we'll be looking at the Gulf newspaper. The paper cites that Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi will attend Wednesday's planned talk on national unity aimed at ending the political crisis. Sources said Armed Forces Chief and Defense Minister Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had called for a meeting of national unity for the love of Egypt to bring together partners of the country in the presence of the President of the Republic. The paper carries another captivating story which says that Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Premier of the United Arab Emirates and ruler of Dubai, addressed the 3rd Annual Global Entrepreneurship Summit GES on Tuesday at the World Trade Center in Dubai. Mohammed said entrepreneurship is not an alien phenomenon for the Arab countries. Let's end today's edition with the Wall Street Journal Europe. The paper reports that British law enforcement authorities arrested 3 men on Tuesday as part of a widened criminal investigation into attempted manipulation of interest rates. The UK Serious Fraud Office said the 3 British nationals aged 33, 41 and 47 were questioned at a London police station and their homes searched by the authorities. The paper also states that the Federal Reserve has told large U.S. banks to forget about all the smallest acquisitions for a while amid the raging debates over the risk giant lenders posed to the financial system. This is where we call it off for the press today, but do stay on AFRIQUE Media for more information.